So what you can do with the InDesign tools in 5.5, that's why in InDesign we added the ability to place video. We added the ability to place an HTML page inside InDesign in 5.5, and I'll show you that. To make image sequences, interactive images, you can read all that stuff. Okay? Because they are just tools for you to add to your design capabilities. And it's all about InDesign. And I added this last point, desktop publishing for tablets. My colleagues hate this. They go, no, it's, you know, and speaking to an audience such as yourself, no, we don't use the term desktop publishing. You know, years and years and years ago when I was able to do this, and we used to call it computer-added layout, because you could charge more. Okay. When I started, I used to charge for layout and typesetting and paste up. That just was one sheet of paper that came out of a bromide machine. Yeah, I am that old. The point is InDesign. Let me just carry on. So, how do you do this then? How do you make this happen? This is unpromising. I'm going to get off this because we're away. Okay, you get InDesign. Okay, I'm going to show you. This is my demo. You get InDesign. You make a folio file out of InDesign. Get off the screen there with all its interactivity, and you make an app out of it. Okay. That app could be a coffee table book, or it could be a periodical. So just quickly. So here we have some that are coffee table books, which would be 50 best photos. Okay, bought this from 50 greatest photos. National Geographic do a couple of these. They're one-offs. Okay, and let me just go to, and you'll notice here when I do this, the interface up the top right, I have the overview. I have a scrubber down the bottom here so I can see pages. And if I hit the home button up here, it just takes me to the front page. Okay, and it'll just load up the front page. All right. So, you know, classic photos with imagery, text, interactive maps. Okay, you know, interactivity behind it, backwards and forwards. There's some video in here, I won't bore you with the details. What created this? It wasn't somebody with Objective-C and a coding, it was an InDesign user. Okay? So that can be a standalone. Then, that's the app. 50 best photos is your app. Okay, so it's just got one file in it. But you may decide you want something like, I'm sick to wide, filming, customers up in Sydney. Great bunch of guys. Again, not a bunch of guys, there's 3 people in office. It's surprisingly how few people produce magazines. So they have one app, the filming app, and each month's edition comes out. Okay, and you buy each month's edition, or some are free and you download it. Okay, so it's going to sit there and pull down and you saw the same thing with Wired. So again, the workflow, the end result may be one of two things: a standalone app or a viewer app which you push additions to. We call them folios. Okay, so let's get back. Let me show you how to do it, because this is what's in 5.5 and publishing to the iPad. You make an app. Okay, and then it's up to you. You have to submit it to Apple. We can't help you there. Apple, swear to God, checks every single app. A human being checks every single app that's submitted to the App Store, and they have how many millions of apps in the App Store? Quite amazing. But you submit it to Apple, and then you make your folios from InDesign and just keep sending them to that app if it's a periodical. You know, so every month, every week, every day, we have a newspaper that pushes them up every day to the app. But it all happens in the cloud, okay? Because you can't run around with a disk loading on everyone's iPad in the world. Okay. Then if any of you in a large business, tell me about it. Then you may want lots of other stuff here. There's lots of cloud pictures, and people who look at architecture want to hear about the SaaS model and the cloud pictures. So we have a whole lot of analytics, e-commerce, etc., etc., etc. That's what it is. Let me show you how easy it is to do. And in the process, explain how to make EPUBs and PDFs, accessible PDFs. And because I will probably forget when I come back, how much is this going to cost you? It's going to cost you $6,000 a year for as many apps as you want to create. Okay? I know there are people out there, other competitors, who charge you tens of thousands an app. We charge you $6,000 a year. It is a yearly, it's a fee because it's up in the cloud. Okay, you get 5,000 issues if you want to push out issues. If you just want to make lots and lots of apps, standalone coffee table book type apps, fine, go to town. Okay, we'll give you 5,000 folios. After that, you've got to buy folios. This is where we make our money. We're charging you 22 cents because we have an enormous network around the world. We can deliver the flash player, a 1 meg download, to Uzbekistan and reliably deliver it. And we can deliver a 6 gigabyte master collection tryout to Sydney using our network. So we figured, hey, use our network. We can buy it cheaper than you probably could, so we're going to charge you 22 cents. If you, and again, I'm not going to go on pricing, etc., etc. If you're a huge multinational enterprise, it's $48,000 a year, and again, you get lots of other stuff as well, hooking up all that e-commerce stuff and hooking up all that other back-end stuff. But basically, that's the pricing. I did that because people go, yeah, it's great, but it's probably $100,000. Why is he talking to me? Okay, $6,000 is not obviously something you just walk into Harvey Norman's on a weekend and go, fine, I'll buy that. But we hope it's in the realms of, we should look at that because we can make a business out of this. Okay, and selling it. All right, so let me show you. I'm doing 2 demos together here. I'm going to show you how to both make EPUBs, which is completely separate to this, and this digital publishing solution. So we're just going to take a step back from digital publishing to the iPad, and we're going to go and look at InDesign CS5.5 for EPUBs. Now, EPUB is a much simpler file format. So I apologise, I'm sort of jamming 2 things together here. So leave aside that DPS app thing for just a minute, and now we're going to talk about making EPUBs for this app, which is iBooks, okay, or the Amazon Kindle, or any EPUB reader, the Sony reader, Barnes & Noble reader. There's lots and lots of these readers. Damn, that's a shame. Forgot to load my PDFs, my EPUB. It's a much simpler file format. It's just an XML file format as well, but it can contain video, but there's no interactivity. There's not a rich medium. But it's a universal standard that's widely used and widely read. The trouble is with that, and the problem with making accessible PDFs, is that InDesign is all about layout and nothing about structure. And previously you would have had to... Has anyone ever opened the structure pane in InDesign? Or the XML tagging pane? No. Thank God for that. Okay. Because, let me explain what I mean. In InDesign CS5.5, I'll start with this one. Okay. I'm going to start with something that people usually think of, and that is anchored objects. Now, why am I starting with anchored objects? You ever had to make an anchored object where you want this graphic to stay there as the text flows around it? And it's pretty simple. You just select the anchored object with the black pointer tool, cut it out, swap to the text tool, click with the text tool, go edit, paste. Okay, that pastes in the anchored object. Swap back to the black pointer tool. Double click on the anchored object so that you can get the options of the anchored object. No, that's not it. How do I do it? Oh, that's right. I go to the object, anchored object, and then you think, what was I trying to do? Okay. All I want to do is just have that graphic move with the text. Okay. So, and I'll explain what I'm talking about in a second. Under the hood, you're just trying to add structure to the document. We never say that. You're designers. As you can see here, there's a little blue square on top of this. Okay. If I take that little blue square and drag and drop it to where I want that to be anchored to, that's all I now have to do. Okay, that's now anchored that object to that piece of text. Okay, so as that piece of text flows up and down, or hell, even if I just move this puppy around, okay, or even outside the text frame, okay, if you want sidebars that go with it, that's now anchored so that, if I was to delete text, it just flows up and down with that text. Okay, so that's a little tiny simple feature. People go, that's great, but is it really worth upgrading to InDesign 5.5 for that? No, but yes, but it's to hint at the structure now. We're starting to allow you to add structure without making you run from the room in abject fear of XML and the tagging palette, which I'll get you to this one. So, how else do we add structure? Okay, so right now we have this new thing called the Articles panel. Okay, now the Articles panel, if you've ever exported an InDesign file to Word, has anyone ever tried that? Isn't that a barrel of fun? Okay, because it's just everything's everywhere, and someone comes up to you and says, just save it as a Word document, and you don't know whether to smack them or just explain it's just not possible. Okay, but that's because Word actually has structure and InDesign doesn't. Word's all about the structure and the flow of the text. InDesign is just about where it sits on the page. Okay, so what we want to do now is we're going to create an article which dictates the order of where these things sit when we export. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to take this story, okay, and I'm going to drag it into the articles panel. Okay, now when it does that, it says, well, you need to name an article, and I'm going to call this, okay, Fred. Okay, well, you can. It makes good sense to name the article whatever it is the article is about. In this case, I'm using the headline, but I don't usually do that because people then think it's got something to do with the headline. No, it's just a tag. Okay, so don't worry about it. Okay, so now here in this article, I also want to add this graphic, so I'm going to put that in there. Okay, so it's just drag and drop. I'll drag the graphic in there. I better drag the headline in there, so I drag the headline in there. There it is there. Oh, I want this little table, so I drag that in there as well. Okay. Now the layout hasn't changed. Okay, it still looks like the layout, but the trouble is that text. Actually, I need the headline to come first, and then I want that table, and then I want that group graphic, and then I want the story. And that's it. I've rearranged the structure of that. So when I export this as an EPUB file, or a Word document, or HTML, it's got the right structure in it. That little thing makes such a big change underlying. And of course you can set all this up by default. For God's sake, you don't have to drag and drop everything. You can select everything. You can add selected articles. You can add the entire document and then rearrange it like that. Okay. So previously you had to do the XML tagging page and structure page, just a nightmare. Now you just make articles. The other thing, so actually while I'll do that, remember that anchored object. So I'm going to drag this and make sure that that comes after there. So these are two images that will always flow in my EPUB on my Kindle or whatever immediately after the word park. Okay, and I'll go to story, those two images, and then park. Okay, I really would love to show it to you. I don't know what's happened to my EPUBs on my iPad, but I'll show it to you. Okay, so then I simply go File, and export. So if I'm exporting even this as an accessible PDF, I would do the same thing, except I would add one extra step. Is that not bookmarks? Is that when I bring up my where is it? Type and tables, my paragraph and character styles. Okay. Oh, man, can't do that. I would ensure that there it is. Styles, paragraph styles. Okay. That right down the bottom here. Okay. We have the ability now to map paragraph and character styles to particular HTML tags or EPUB tags. Now, for anyone in the audience going, I don't understand this, that's fine, but this is critically important. InDesign used to do this. It just made every single paragraph a P paragraph, okay, which was great, but you manually had to go through and change everything. So now you can actually tag this so that this is supposed to be a heading 1, a heading 2, a heading 3. Oh, hell, maybe I want to make my own tag. We'll call this entry. And I can make it my own class so that when I export it out as HTML, I have a class set up for it. Now, this is just part of the paragraph styles. For the 90% of the audience doesn't get this, you turn to the people who do get it and say, can you make me up one of these and save it as a style sheet, and then I'll bring it in. And that's how it works, you know. So you use the paragraph styles that somebody who knows about this sets up for you. You just apply your paragraph styles as you normally do, and yet when you hit it out as a PDF or as an EPUB, bam, it's all tagged up correctly for you. Okay. And that's about it. I'm going to move on because I've only got 15 minutes. So, EPUB, HTML, accessible PDFs all come out of that new feature. But we want to look at how do I publish to the iPad.